I just had to literally grind it out and sell as many houses as I could virtually to carry my payroll, make sure I didn't have to lay people off and continue to employ them. And on top of that, learn leadership and learn how to lead people appropriately without being crazy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reside Platform podcast. I'm your host, Brooke, and today's episode is going to be all about speed, strategy, and unstoppable drive. I'm sitting down today with Tracy Hernly, who is a realtor, team leader, broker owner, title company owner, mom, wife, and race car driver. Tracy brings the energy, the heart, and that smart strategy to everything that she does. So I'm very excited to have her on the show today and talk to her just a little bit more about how she wears all these hats. Tracy, welcome. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Doing great. Tracy, before we dive into everything that you're doing currently, I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey. How did you first get into real estate? And I'm curious, based on your past, did your experience as a race car driver lead you here? How did those two worlds connect for you?
So when I first graduated high school, I wasn't a great fit for college. I always just was a really hard worker and really great with people, but didn't really love school that much. So I was working as a co-op student and I was offered a mortgage loan processing position when I was fresh out of high school. So I did that for a few years. And then a real estate attorney that owned a real estate brokerage and, of course, practiced real estate law recruited me to come and work for him. And I worked as his assistant for 5 years. And then I went to work for a title company and helped new branch development and managed the title company for about 9 years. And after that, I had learned a lot of the back end knowledge of real estate, of course, with financing, law, and with all my title knowledge. And I thought that, man, the only thing that was missing was basically me listing and selling, right? And I love people. So I decided to get my real estate license, leave the title company. That was a pretty good, cushy job, stressful, but a nice salary. And you know
At
what I
least a
mean?
steady paycheck. Yeah.
Yeah, a
Steady real
guaranteed
estate.
paycheck.
Yeah.
Um, and get my real estate license. And after my husband got over the fact that he wanted to kill me for leaving my, guaranteed paycheck position, we just kind of dove into me selling real estate all the time. And I did that because I thought I would have more flexibility and availability for my family. However, if you're going to perform at a high level in real estate and get started, right, that was not really the case for my first few years. And you just have to live it and own it. And so I did that. And that was in 2013. And since then, I have been able to build a really great team. We're currently sitting number one in units sold in the Greater Lansing area. So, like, out of 864 agents here in the area, we have the most units sold. And then, of course, with a real estate brokerage, I run the team and the brokerage separately, but together, right? And so, yeah, it's been well. It's went really well for me.
Amazing. And congratulations. That's not an easy, an easy title or easy metrics to hit. So congratulations to you. So tell
Thank
me a
you.
little bit about let's back up a little bit and tell me a little bit about your history as you grew. So you started as an agent yourself, kind of realized pretty quickly that flexibility was kind of earned and not given at the beginning. How did that change for you to where you turned into saying, okay, you know what, I can make this a career of mine. And not only can I do that, but I can also help others make this a career and build a team?
First, I was just focused on, I'm very competitive. So, of course, I didn't want to, not pull big numbers. So that
Oh,
was
yeah.
kind of like a
The
driver
racing
for me.
background, I'm sure that racing background from came in very quickly where you're like, I'm gonna get there quickly and I'll be first.
Figure it out. Right. And I'm a very hard worker. Like, I'm very obsessive, but I also know I'm really great with people and doing those types of things. So I knew I needed to reach the threshold where I needed to hire an assistant which that was my very first hire when I was just a solo agent, was an assistant, because the paperwork and all of the details and keeping up with that stuff consistently, I knew wasn't my jam. My time was better served doing sales, right? Being in front of the people. I always call it STP, so see the people. And so that was my very first hire. And I wasn't really keen on starting a team at first, but it was out of necessity. I was just dying. I couldn't keep up after 3 or 4 years in the business. I was working 24/7. My kids, I had 3 young kids. So that was super difficult. It was just a lot. So I kind of had to take on teammates. And I had one agent that she's still with me today, and she does a lot of the Reside stuff, Sarah. And Sarah was a new agent. She moved from Texas and she kept coming to my open houses and she would be like, Tracy, don't you need help? Don't you want to start a team? And I would say, Sarah, no, I don't really want to start a team, you know? And one day she asked me again, she was on me. She's like, I really want to be on your team. Don't you want to start a team? And I was like, you know what? Yes, that sounds like a great idea. And so
Right person at the right time. You're like, "Please take
yeah,
this lead
yeah. And she
on."
was very persistent. So she gets like 5 stars for that, which is such a compliment to me thinking back on it too, that she seen that in me and wanted to learn from me as well. And so she was my very first teammate. And that started about 4 years after I started. So that would have taken us to 2016. And so since then, I've added on to the team. And 2019 is when I left the brokerage that I had started at and opened my own brokerage. And we've grown that since then.
Amazing. So talk to me a little bit about that piece, about building your own brokerage, because not only are you building a team now and having to run that as well as, run your team at home with your kids and your family, but now you are taking on this other venture. So what made you decide to take that on and how's that been since?
So at the time in 2019, the company that I was working for had been acquired by another firm. The two guys that I had started with, they were very well known and very well respected brokers, retired and sold the company. And so the people that I had went to that company to work for and admired and knew, like, and trusted, right? And wanted to learn from were phasing out or already gone. And things just started to change. The dynamic started to change with the acquisition. And so I was young enough in the business that I started interviewing the other brokers in our area, and I wasn't really finding what I wanted and the culture that I wanted. And some of them I really liked and I respected and trusted and all of that, but they were also at the age that they were going to be phasing out or retiring. And I didn't want to go through another merger or acquisition. So at that point, I just decided that opening my own brokerage was best because I just wanted a good place that I could work and I'd go to, knew what to expect, that I could go to work. Everybody was going to be happy and it was going to be a great culture and it would be stable and I wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. So then all of the real learning came into play because opening a brokerage is not an easy feat. And also managing, staff people and really learning leadership was
Mhm.
also probably one of the most difficult things that I've encountered.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's something that anyone hearing this can relate to. Let's
Mm.
talk a little bit about those essentially growing pains. I think that we all can experience once you step into leadership, whatever realm that is. What did you find was the biggest challenge that you weren't expecting? And then how have you overcame that?
So honestly, leading people in my bedside manner. So
Mhm.
because and this probably comes into my racing, background and growing up and being very competitive and also being an overachiever, I hold myself to a very high standard and I also work a lot. And hiring staff people and then managing them and managing my expectations of employees was very difficult. And my bedside manner was rough at first. And, it was definitely a learning curve. It was also during COVID. Like I opened the brokerage in 2019 in September of 2019, and then we got shut down in March of 2020. And I had opened the title company in January of 2020. And so at that point, like I needed a minimum of 6 to 8 staff people. And you couldn't even hire people really to come to work. And then you were trying to manage people from remote. So it was just really, really difficult. And then when you're that new into the business, a lot of the incentives that the government gave to new business owners, I didn't qualify for because I didn't have 2 years of tax returns or anything like that because we were such a new business. So, like a lot of the bailout stuff and the payroll protection that was offered, I didn't
Get it.
qualify for. So I just had to literally grind it out and sell as many houses as I could virtually to carry my payroll, make sure I didn't have to lay people off and continue to employ them. And on top of that, learn leadership and learn how to lead people appropriately without being crazy.
Absolutely. Because when you have that high standard for yourself, it's very easy to think about that with other people and expect that same level that you would expect for yourself. So, what has, especially during that busy time where you are juggling all these things, so what changed for you where you said, okay, I need to change my bedside manner a little bit? I need to change my approach with these agents if I want to see them truly succeed. What happened there and what's it been looking like since?
Yeah, I didn't have an issue leading the agents. I definitely had an issue leading the staff people. That
Mm,
was where a lot of my issues came because the agents as 1099s, you can't set expectations for them. I mean, you can, but you can't, right? Like, I can't say you need to be in the office from this time to that time and you need to, like, I can recommend that, but I can't hold them accountable like that. But for my staff that were going to answer to me and all of, and I was paying payroll to, I had very stringent expectations. And if they weren't meeting them, what I said mattered, right?
yes.
And so that's where like that book that we go over with Reside, and I've taken, the Rise class with Mia, which has been, it's an excellent class. I tell all my agents that exactly what to say and how to deliver that stuff is so important because I was just rough around the edges and I would just kind of dot them between the eyes. And not everybody's built to take that kind of criticism or feedback
Right.
and accountability, especially when you can't even hire people. You can't piss them off and then they've all quit on you. So I had such a turnover and it was just kind of a nightmare.
Yeah. And I'm sure you thought, okay, this is not sustainable. We can't have this rotating door. And I like what you're saying because it's not necessarily, you're not saying, hey, I lowered my standard or I lowered the line. You're still holding the line. You still have your expectations of service and what you would like to put out there as your brand for the team and how you would like to be represented. You just changed your approach on how you got there.
Well, after I failed a couple times.
Yes. Which is usually the best lesson, right?
Yeah.
It's the hard lesson, but it's
Yeah, whenever I fail at something or it costs me money, I always am like, "Ugh, that's my
don't do that
education
again.
loan, right? Gotta pay for your education somehow." So, yeah, but I did have to adjust,
Mhm.
and learn how to adjust. And there's a couple of these things I've learned from my coach, Matt Smith. He coached me for a couple years before I joined Reside, and he was very instrumental in me recognizing the fact that my leadership had to grow and I had to change my expectations. And I also had to change my delivery methods of holding people accountable and them understanding my expectations. And clarity is kindness. You'll hear Matt say that if you listen to his podcast or if you see him in person. And that was one of the things that really has changed probably a lot for me in my leadership journey because I'm still developing and growing from that. But
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're finding a way where you can keep everybody, staff included, as well as agents, is keeping them motivated while keeping them aligned and them still feeling that support, which I'm sure many people can relate to. That's not easy on a day-to-day basis. So, what does your approach look like when you do have a staff member or an agent that might not be following your expectations or willing to follow where you're holding the line at?
so I coach them to our mission statement and our core values. And that has made that clarity very simple for me as a leader. And also giving them that feedback has made it very easy because we have our mission statement and our core values posted in all of our offices, including the title company. And I hold everybody to the same standard. And so we all know if each other is not holding the line, toeing the line. And so all of the companies have the same mission statement in the same core values and just coaching to that. And then it takes me out of the equation and it also takes any feelings out of the equation. It's just about this is our mission, these are our core values, and we didn't align there and we can do better.
Absolutely. And keeping it visible is so key. So it's never forgotten. It's never, oh, I didn't realize we had a mission statement. I don't realize what our core values are. And then being able to speak with the agents and say, hey, what aligns to you about this? What's a core value that you see represented in your own life or from the team? And being able to be reminded of that every single day. I think that really pours into why your culture on your team is so strong, especially being able to duplicate that not only from your personal team, but within the brokerage, within the title company, and being able to represent that all across the board. So I think that's very key.
I learned this from the Perna team, or Michael Perna does this in his team meetings. And I implemented it over the course of this past year once I learned it. And we do at our sales meetings, the first things that we do at our sales meeting is do positive shout outs. And they are positive shout outs that align with our core values. And so that's a great positive, and I give Starbucks cards for the positive shout outs. And that has really helped also everybody know and be reminded of what our core values are to continue to build that culture and that incentive to make sure that we're staying on that trajectory.
Absolutely. That's really special because you are celebrating them and rewarding that sort of behavior so they continue doing that. Who doesn't want a chance at the Starbucks gift card? I'd be like, who needs help? Who needs
All
help
right.
showing house this week? What do you guys need? That's amazing and such a testament to your culture as a team leader, what you can create within your team. What has worked best for you to attract agents that truly fit your culture and what you're trying to convey?
A lot of my building of the brokerage and my team has just happened organically. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm focusing on in 2026 is to really hone in on recruiting and doing that more. And I don't want to use the word more forceful, but maybe more consistently is a better description of that because it's been organic, I feel like it's been slower but I don't have a lot of turnover, and one of the things that probably happens is I don't have a lot of turnover in my agent counts and stuff like that because I do grow organically, but we do need to grow at a faster pace, and so that's one of the things that I'm focused on in 2026.
What do you think the key has been to a low turnover rate for you? Has it been that time to build that relationship, or what do you think is a testament to that?
I have very good relationships with all of the people that work with me, and I think that that helps with retention. It's probably a struggle for me as a leader though, because they have very direct access to me.
Right.
And so it spreads me very thin, especially because I still list and sell. So managing the brokerage with the agents, listing and selling, and have my, like managing the agents as well is difficult for me but I do think that that helps with retention.
I think that that is so key, even though it can spread you thin, it's like creating that balance. So then that way they have that direct access, they can still talk to you, still know what's going on in their business, but they also know that you are a busy woman. You have multiple businesses. They know when to reach you and where. So I think it is really key to still have that touch point with your agents, having those events. You also do a lot of client events as well as team events. So tell me a little bit about that. You're very active in your community. So how has that involvement started to shape your business?
We try to do two client events a year, one at the racetrack and then one that is cookies with Santa. I didn't get a racetrack event this past year because my schedule just didn't align. The racetrack event I usually race at too, which makes it a little more
I
difficult
love
to
that.
schedule. But my clients love it. And our team loves it too, because then it makes the racing a little more interesting for them because they know somebody on the racetrack and it makes it fun for them and their clients to, interact about it. But I couldn't get the schedules to align with my son's racing as well. So hopefully we can get that one in this next year because that is kind of a big hit. And I do it at the local racetrack here in town that my husband and I used to own. So that's fun. And then our Cookies with Santa event has been a good client appreciation event that is very diverse. So I can get everybody there, kids, adults, and we always do like cool gift baskets and professional pictures with Santa. And we usually have a theme. This year was Elf on the Shelf.
Oh,
Last year was the Grinch.
cute.
And so that makes it fun.
That is so cute. What advice would you give other leaders that want to build a stronger connection locally with their community?
So also just be involved with your community. So I sit
Mhm.
on the Planning and Zoning Commission in my local township. I'm also involved at our association. I'm a past president for the Greater Lansing Association of Realtors, Women's Council of Realtors. So being involved on the agent level there is important. Now I'm just broker advisory committee, but that's also a great leadership and learning opportunities that you can take. And I think that that's really great. I assistant basketball coach for our varsity team. So that keeps me in my local community as well. And I try to align it with things that I really enjoy so that it's not a chore for me to do. So I think that
Absolutely.
when you're thinking about being involved in your community and giving back is knowing yourself, knowing who your people are. What I mean by that is if you know who your people are and who you relate to, what you're going to enjoy, then your job is going to be a lot more naturally enjoyable and easier to build off of. So I definitely recommend really kind of honing in on that and trying to capitalize on those opportunities versus shove a round peg into a square hole,
Absolutely.
peg, whatever that is.
And whatever that saying is, but I understand. Absolutely. Doing those things that you're going to enjoy doing and that bring you that sense of joy or relief or those types of hobbies or things that you're already involved in and being able to really go head first in it and have that time, but also turn it into business as well. Now you're the realtor on the basketball team. Now you're the realtor race car driver that everyone can come see at the client event. So really just doing those things that's going to be continuous and keep getting your name out there. And I'm sure it wasn't overnight. It wasn't like, hey, I'm a realtor. Okay, great. Like it was constant relationship building, constant reminding, constant inviting them into that world for you. How do you feel like you have connected them successfully? Has it been just the consistency over time, or what do you feel like was that key?
So when I first started, I went to an Inman conference and there was a realtor that specializes in luxury down in North Carolina, Boston Reed. He was a crew chief for NASCAR. And he was on stage, and that was the first time I'd been to an Inman conference. And it was almost like perfect timing for me because it really opened my eyes to the fact that I could really correlate my racing passion into my real estate business. Because before I always kept my professional life and my personal life kind of separate because racing is a little rough and real estate is a little polished, right?
Mhm.
And so it's hard to see where those two could connect. But when Boston was up on stage, he talked about basically like it was perfect for him because he understood the lifestyle and he understood and he knew all of the people and they already knew, like, and trusted him. And so it made me think, like, why wouldn't I be the racing realtor? Why would I kind of keep that hidden? And why wouldn't I just own that? And so I went into that like as the racing realtor, and it
Mhm.
worked really well for me because I understand their lifestyle or a race car driver's lifestyle. And I understand the fact that they need a lot of garage space. I understand the fact that they need certain power supplies and those types of things that normal realtors that sell a lot in, like, say, the city limits or whatnot don't really understand at a high level because they don't live that lifestyle. So I specialize mostly in rural real estate with big pole barns and I know the value of big pole barns and what they mean to people in that lifestyle and what it costs to replace them or what it costs to build them if they're buying something that they don't currently have an outbuilding. And that has really helped me know my people, have those things collide for me, and really build my business at a high level.
Absolutely. Because you're the trusted experts where they know, you know what's going on in the market, you know what's going on in their lives, what they're expecting, what their needs are. You're anticipating that. And you really found your niche there, which is built and grown since that. And you can now be able to take that reputation, that brand, and everything that you've built and be able to pass that along with your team and have them encourage them to create their own thing, their own, maybe they're the basketball mom of the of the group, or that they know it's a realtor, or it doesn't have to be racing specifically, but being able to provide that example and really empower your agents, I'm sure has been a big key piece. And that's really exciting to see.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit. So you, as far as your timeline, you started as an agent, you grew a team, got the title company. Where did Reside come in within your journey?
So Reside came in as I was, like going back to kind of some of the leadership struggles
Yeah.
and employing people and really getting good systems and processes into place. And also juggling all of the things that I juggle because still listing and selling at a high volume is tough to manage that along with the other things that I need to do. I was really struggling with making sure that when I have new agents that I onboard them properly and that they have good resources to develop their knowledge and client care and resources. And so with Reside, and I also wanted them to know that stuff on a high level. So I knew once I had went to, a Tahoe conference and seen John Cheplick, on stage multiple times and been coached with Matt, that I was with people that also had high expectations and that are going to perform at a high level, and they're not going to give me a product that is subpar. And so that was really important to me. And it was really important for me to pass that on to my agents so that they could produce at a high level and be learning from people that were of a high caliber.
Absolutely. And we're so happy to have you, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You
I'm
and your
happy.
team are such an inspiration. And I'm curious to know what's next for you. You own all these businesses. You're always working, you're always looking for the next thing. So do you have an idea what's coming in 2026 for you and the team?
I'm going to hone in on recruiting. So that's one of my major goals is to grow the brokerage. And right now, I don't know that I have any other business ventures that I'm planning on, but you never know what will happen. And yeah, I am very busy with my mom's schedule right now.
Mhm.
So that seems to take a lot of time. Now that my kids are in the thick of it, so I
Mhm.
have a 14, a 12, and an 8-year-old.
Mhm.
It was a lot easier when I just had a nanny and they went, you know what I mean? They didn't
Had a
have like all
schedule
these.
where they just went to school and came home and come and they
Yeah,
came
yeah.
down and you're like, we're going to bed. It's 7 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah. Now we have varsity basketball games. We have travel basketball with AAU. We have lots of racing for my son on a national level. And so things are very chaotic and we travel a lot on the
Yeah.
weekends racing. And so it's just more difficult for me to now I'm really focused on kind of growing what I have
Yeah.
and honing in on that instead of doing crazy things like buying racetracks and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. You're like, maybe we'll see. We'll see where the year takes you. But for now,
I never say no because I never know what,
what's going to come your way. But I
Yeah,
think it's so important of that reminder where it's not always about adding things, but looking at what you're currently doing and how you're currently operating to see how can we get better and what we already have. If not, maybe removing some of the things that aren't working anymore or don't serve
yeah.
you.
One of my friends told me one time, one of my very best friends that owns business as well, said in your 30s you're like really focused on like doing as much as you can and building as many things as you can. And then when you hit 40, you kind of start evaluating what is worth your time and what isn't. And some of the
Mhm.
things you just start unloading. And then I was like, oh, that's never going to happen to me. Right. I'm just going to keep building with all my 30-year-old energy, And now I am in my early 40s. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta
So,
get that now, especially
yeah.
where you are within your life and that phase where your kids are at the age that they are and have their own thing going on. It's not always the answer to build, build, build. It's I need to have this focus as well while still making this operation very successful. So congratulations to you for realizing that and just saying, "Hey, I'm going to be focusing on what I've got in front of me." Now, I do hope that we see more racing from you coming up. I'm excited now to see these videos.
Yeah, I don't get to race as much as I used to because my son races a lot. And so it's just hard
You don't want to
to,
show them up.
well, that and just upkeep of the race cars is a lot of work if you're gonna perform at a high level, right? And
Really.
be winning and stuff like that. And if I'm gonna go do it, I don't wanna suck. So um
Your desk in practice. Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any final advice for any leaders that are maybe just now building a team or just now hiring the first staff members, those that are at the early stages? Do you have any advice for those based on your lessons that you've learned at the very beginning, those growing pains?
Just don't be scared of it. I mean, you're
Mhm.
gonna make mistakes, you're gonna mess up, learn from it. Don't lose so much time on it. Move on. It's worth the journey. Some days you'll question it, but stay the course and it'll all work out.
Absolutely. That's totally normal to question it. By the way, anyone that's listening to this and said, I want to blow this all up, totally normal. I'm sure Tracy can say.
And
Yeah,
sometimes I quit a couple times a day.
yeah, the key there is just know who you're quitting to, texting,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll say I'm quitting this. And they're like, okay, great. Yep. All right. We'll give it a
My
couple
boss
months.
never listens.
Yeah. They never let me go,
Yeah.
but definitely
Emails
keep
keep
pushing.
coming and
Absolutely. Keep pushing and going back to your why. And I'm sure those times where you get to look at your mission statement, those core values, you're reminded that's why we're here and that's what we're doing.
getting back to your why is important. You'll get lost on the journey. 100%. And sometimes you get lost for 6 months, sometimes 8 months, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Just get back to your why though. Know that that will reset you. And that'd probably be a really big piece of advice that I would give someone is when you're feeling like that, really go back to your why. I've had to do it several times and it's
Mhm.
normal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Tracy. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm so happy we got to talk with you a little bit more. And again, I appreciate you so much for sharing your story. Love your energy and just being able to give us a little bit of your heart, to share with all of us. I really appreciate that time. And for everyone listening, I just want to make sure you check out Tracy's businesses. We'll make sure that we link her website and all her social channels in the show notes so you can see why her clients and her team love working with her. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in to the Reside Platform podcast. Again, I'm Brooke Reiki. Just a reminder, keep leading, keep growing, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much.